All right, so this example should cover example 6.2 from the textbook, covers pages 117 through really 120. It's a fairly long example. You do have to do several things when calculating, or rather leveling resources. The first thing you have to do is calculate the critical path on a sequence of activities. Scenario goes like this. A subcontractor needs to install flooring in two areas. Area 1 has old vinyl tile that must be removed and replaced with new vinyl tile. Area 2, the area has concrete slab that needs to be covered with ceramic tile. Based on the following table, this one right here, perform forward and backward pass. You should know how to do that. Calculate the critical path. You should know how to do that. And level resources. That's what you should be learning out of the video. You cannot use more than 6 employees per day. So your constraint is that you can't use more than 6 employees per day. Use the space below to diagram. I'll have additional tables for you to use to level the resources. So first thing we got to do right here is diagram the critical path on this one. It has no single activity that leads off the sequence. So both A and B don't have an immediately preceding activity. Therefore, I need a project start diamond to clarify how this thing starts out. I have both A and B here. So those basically are leading things off. A is a 5-day duration. B is a 7-day duration. C is preceded by A, so I'm going to draw C over here. C is a 3-day duration, and again, it's preceded by A. D is preceded by both A and B, and D is a 5-day duration, preceded by both A and B. I'm going to link that like this. And E is preceded by both C and D. E is a 2-day duration, preceded by both C and D. So my logic is correct. The only thing I need to do now is do my forward and backward pass. I'll start with A. Theoretically, A is nothing stopping A from starting, so I can start on day 0. It's a 5-day duration, which would make my early finish day 5. B, a little bit different. Nothing constraining the start of B, so therefore it starts on day 0. It's a 7-day duration. My early finish would be day 7. Activity C is constrained by activity A, so it's immediately preceded by A. Therefore, the earliest I can start C is on day 5. C is a 3-day activity, so the earliest I could finish it is on day 8. Sorry, my cell phone was ringing there. Activity D has 2 activities that precede it, both activity A and activity B. I picked the latter of those 2 dates, so I've either got to choose between 5 or 7. 7 happens later. The start of D is conditioned on the finish of both A and B, so I have to wait for both of them to finish. That's why I picked the latter of the 2 dates. So day 7, it's a 5-day duration. That gets me an early finish of day 12. Same thing for E. E has 2 predecessors, C and D. I take the latter of the 2 dates. Day 12, it's a 2-day duration, 14-day schedule. Which means that the latest I can finish the schedule is day 14th. I would subtract 2 from the late finish to get the early start. So the earliest, or excuse me, the late start, the latest I can start activity E is day 12 without delaying the entire rest of the schedule. What about activity D? I would basically transfer this 12 down here. If I go any later than that, I delay activity E. So I take day 12 down there, subtract the 5-day duration, and get 7 here. What is the latest I can finish activity C without delaying E? Well, the only thing right there is that day 12. So I can transfer that day 12 over here, subtract the 3, and the latest I can start activity C is on day 9. Latest I can finish is day 12 without delaying the remainder of the schedule. What about activity B? What's the latest I can finish activity B? Well, I've only got that one thing that follows it, which is activity D, so I'm just going to transfer that 7 on over here, subtract the 7-day duration, and that will get me my late start. Latest I can start activity B without delaying everything else that succeeds it is day 0. got my choice in on the way back right here. There's two things that succeed activity A, so I'm either going to pick between this 9 or this 7. I picked the earlier of the two dates on the way back. Can't pick the 9. If I pick the 9, that pushes this date out, so I have to pick the earlier of the two dates, which is the 7. The 7 transfers over here. 7, I subtract the 5-day duration. In theory, I could start activity A as late as day 2 without delaying anything else that follows it. So from there, it should be pretty easy to identify the critical path. And I'm going to use orange today. Obviously, project starts critical, activity B, activity D, and activity E are all critical. So that's the first step in leveling resources. And what we will try to do is, in order to preserve resources, if that 6 laborer constraint comes into play, we're going to have to figure out something to play with these two activities, see if we can't maneuver those around a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do on my chart here, this is moving down the example right here. I've got my days here. I've got my laborers here. So I'm just going to label the days as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And that's the duration of the project right there. The labors I'm going to add up as I go along right here. So the first one, activity A, I'm losing track of my math right here. If I look at activity A, it's basically a 5-day duration. It's the first one to happen. So I'm going to label that up here. It's 5 days. So I'm going to use 5 blocks of this chart. Now, the thing that's different about what we're doing now than anything we've done before is we're assigning a laborer or laborers to it. So this one actually has 2 laborers assigned to it, and I have to pencil that into the other chart. So let's write those 2's in here. 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2. Activity B also has the ability to start on day 0, and it goes to 7-day duration. So I'm just going to go out 2 more blocks with it. And activity B has 4 laborers assigned to it. So I have to write those 4 laborers in there. So 4, 4. Let's write a whole bunch of 4's in there. Activity C is a 3-day duration. It's a 3-day duration, and it's got 3 laborers assigned to it. And it can start on day 5. So I'm going to write those actually right in here. 1, 2, 3. And there are 3 laborers assigned to it. 1, 2, 3. Activity D is a 5-day duration. So I'm just going to, I did this wrong the first time, so please bear with me. I'm going to get this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just want to make sure I do it right. Activity D, 5-day duration, 3 laborers associated with it. Okay, so I'm just going to pencil in the 3 laborers here. And activity E is a 2-day duration, and it's got 2 laborers associated with it. So right at the end right here, 2 and 2. It's a 2-day duration with 2 laborers attached to it. And that should get us out to day 14. Okay, so we're right in line with day 14. Now we got to figure out if we've exceeded our resource constraint. I'm actually going to try and zoom this in a little bit so y'all can see a little bit better. Okay, so again, let me see here if I can get this better focused. Oh, don't do autofocus, that's hurting my eyes. Okay, better. All right, so you've got the 14-day schedule. you've got activity, excuse me, I should be labeling these. This is activity A, activity B, activity C, activity D, activity E. And that's according to what you just mapped out in the critical path. So the orange is critical, the other two are non-critical. Now all I have to do is add up the number of employees I have on each day. So 2 plus 4 on day 1 gives me 6. I have the same thing on day 2, on day 3. I hope nobody's taking any religious meaning to this. It's just the way things are adding up. So that's 6 also, and that actually all the way through day 5 is going to be 6. Now day 5. So day 6, all of a sudden we got 7 employees there. We got 7 on day 7, and then we go back to 6. Then we go down to 3. Gotta make sure I'm lining these up properly. Just doing a number on my eyes. 3, 3, 3, 2, and 2. Okay, so we have a problem, and the problem is this. We said that we can never be using more than 6 employees at a time, and in day 6 and 7, we both have 6 employees at a time. So I have to figure out a way to address that. If I look at my resource profile, for example, on this problem, these are 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, so if I look at my resource profile on this, I would simply go up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is my marker for, actually for 5 days. I could draw this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The next day it goes 2 days, it goes up to 7. Whoops, off screen right here, sorry. Sorry. So this is my 7 employee constraint right here. So the only thing I just drew off screen right here was the first 5 days of the profile are 6 employees. This just goes up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've got 2 days where I've breached that 6-day constraint. Then I bump back down to 6 for 1 day. Then I go down to 3 for 4 days. So that's 6, that's 3. And I go over 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I go down to 2 for 2 days. Okay, so the big problem with this right here is that I've violated my constraint. I said the whole time I couldn't go over 6 days. So really what I'm going to try and draw right here is a red line. That's what I said I couldn't violate. And the problem right here is this thing sticking up right here. I've exceeded the number of employees I've had just simply because of the way the employees are distributed. So I have to go back to that previous chart and figure out a way of moving the employees within the non-critical activities. And actually this one has a pretty simple fix. So I'm going to go back here and see if there's a way I can adjust these non-critical activities such that I don't have those 7 employees. And actually the fix is really, really simple because activity C has about 4 days float. So this over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, I can simply move those activities over here. And actually the fix is just as simple as this. So I'm trying to get my hand out of the way. I can cross through this one and this one right here and move those over here. So really what I have is 3 and 3 over here. It's still the same duration. I'm going to color that green. Again, hopefully I don't smudge the ink right there. Okay, really all I did was just shift that activity over 2 days. Okay, and let's see if that fixes our problem down here. So for the first 5 days, again, I have 6. But on day 6, I go down to 4 days. Okay, and the same thing on day 7, I've gone down to 4 days. On day 8, I've got 6. On day 9, I go up from 3 to 6. On day 10, I go up from 3 to 6. then I go back down to that same regular order again, 3, 3, 2, and 2. Okay, so I've just basically all I did right there was bump that activity over 2 days because it had float. So I still have a remaining float over here. But I've met my criteria of not having more than 6 employees in any location at any given time. How does that work out over here? So actually I'm going to redraw this one so that it's a little bit easier to understand. The new resource profile looks like this. So again, maybe I'll just draw my limitation right off the bat right here. And then that way we can see what we're not trying to exceed. So on the side I have the number of laborers, and actually I got the wrong pen. So 6 labor limit, excuse me, right? See over on the side, number of employees, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the first one, the first 5 days, I've got 6, right? So I'm right on the limit right there. I go down to 4 employees for 2 days. I go back up to 6 employees for 3 days. Then I go down to 3 for 2 days. And then I go down to 2 for 2 days, okay? And never once did I violate my constraint, my 6 employee constraint, okay? So the difference being, if I can put these two side by side, or actually not side by side, the first one, I clearly violate. This right here is not what I want to see. If I'm limited to 6 employees, I can't go over, okay? So just by shifting activity C within its available float, I just shifted it over a couple of days, I can remedy this problem. I don't have 7 employees. What I did is level the resources so that I never once violate that 6 employee cap. And as a matter of fact, the number of days are identical. It's a 14-day duration still. I just moved one activity so that it didn't violate my 6 employee constraint. Again, that's example 6.2 out of the book. I recommend looking at it because there'll probably be a similar problem on the test. It's pages 117 through page 120. And I hope y'all got a good deal of information out of that.